Okay, so Marble Madness was victorious. That's a shame. But we've got another little Master System game here. And this is Air Rescue. And this is the speedrun baby of Radman from Mars, a legend in the Sega career community. This is the sequel to Choplifter, although you wouldn't know it because they're quite different. But this is a fun little game. It's got a little bit of jank in terms of the movement as well. But it's quite short, it's quite sweet, it's not too hard to complete a run-off. It can also go horribly wrong, so I could die a lot, but I've actually got a 1 hour 40 deaths compilation on my YouTube of just the final stage. That's where it gets really rough. We have got some very picky hostages to rescue. We're going to play on the normal difficulty. Time will begin in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So we've got a dangerous holiday, we've got the coolest flag in history, we've got a star, we've got a skull, we've got a scythe, and the holiday park has been taken over by some terrorists, because of course it has. So we're going to get the chopper, and we're going to fly in and rescue the hostages, and kill some bad guys along the way. We've got a nice ladder here, and I'm going to launch my bombs as well, just to make the movement slightly smoother on the control side of things. 3 hostages rescued. You've got to get 7 in each stage. And you've got inertia on the helicopter. It controls really well. The one problem with this game, which you will probably see at some point soon, if you touch anything, you die very quickly. So it's very hairy scary. Like that. Touch the ground, dead. Someone needs to be fired for that contract because they've not made a very good helicopter. And it makes you feel scared to play it at first, but eventually you get used to it and you sort of take the rough with the smooth and realise that you just have to push and be aggressive with this game. And sometimes you'll get good times, and sometimes you'll die a few times, but it's all fun. And I mentioned Choplifter earlier, and if you feel Choplifter is a little bit of a hard game, and it certainly is, then this could be a cool little speedrun for you. Much quicker, much shorter. I mentioned Radman, and he really pioneered the strats in this one and worked out how to play it. So thank you to him, and thank you also to OJ and to RGL for putting this event on, because, boom, I've got a lot of janky games, and I love being able to show them off. I think it's a wonderful idea for an event. Let's try that again. One of the games... lol. Game over on the first stage. I'm going to reset that and start again just to make sure I've got my continues. Lol. You can often get 6-7 minute completions in this game and then it just rips you to pieces. It's funny, but it's kind of like you eventually get annoyed with it. So, one of the problems with Marble Madness that I played just before is that the momentum for X and Y position adds to itself, and it's the same here. So, if I'm moving forward and then I move up, then the two will kind of add to each other. So you've really got to be careful to know when you're stopping and when you're carrying on. As you can see from what's happened so far. Lol. This is highly unusual, this never happens. But one of the things with this game that's interesting we found out is that if you use this ladder that you've got, and you repeatedly open and close it, then if a terrorist shoots you, you can actually avoid being tail-spun to death. So we didn't realise that you could actually stop yourself dying. Kind of makes no sense, but it does make it a little bit easier to be aggressive. The main problem with the game as a speedrun is the hostages can be very picky. So if you look at the world record, which is 540, it looks suboptimal in the first few stages, because there are moments I lose 2 or 3 seconds because of hostages and just movement things. But then you get to the final stage, and it pales in comparison. Because the final stage, I lovingly call Mental Breakdown Dark Star. That is an absolute nightmare. And if you can complete that, you are a real badass. Here's the first stage complete anyways. And we're going to move up and despawn the hostages so that they die quicker. You got different weapons as well, so in level 2 Firestorm we are going to have water bombs, and we're going to use those to put out some fires. Civic duty after all. And if you know anything about the Master System, you'll know that it's a little bit of a laggy console, a little bit more than the NES. And one of the problems with that is that if you're not used to the way this console operates, you'll get stuck at points like this, where you're moving half tiles forward. Let's put some fires out. But if you like a little bit of lag to your games, if you like a lot of technical D-pad movement, this is a good game for you to speedrun. And this is also a good game if you're not sure if you'll enjoy speedrunning on the Master System. If this one doesn't frustrate you too much, then you're probably going to do well with the console in general. There's 3 hostages rescued. I'm launching the bombs as well, just to do a little bit of lag management, and just... Also, you get a helicopter bonus if you don't use any weapons at the end of each stage. Level 3 is really cool. We've got Countdown, we've got the Sega Airline, and we've got some Nintendo terrorists trying to foil us. We don't want that, obviously. Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Really nice music in this stage as well. And would you believe it, the bombs are not the awkward thing. The awkward thing is the corners of these buildings, because if you touch them for 1 frame, you will die. Got a bit of a tank here as well for some reason. Come to daddy. Let's get these terrorists away from this lovely jet. We've got sentinel orbs in the sky as well. They look scary, but they're not really that bad once you're used to them. And you can actually change the inertia settings for this in the debug menu, although I couldn't really tell what the difference was. So I don't know, maybe somebody would find it more comfortable to play with the different settings on that. Shaky start, but we're doing okay now. Shoot the hospital, because why not? So it's pretty easy to learn this game in like half a day and get an ace on 9-minute time, and again, if you play aggressively, it doesn't get so scary. Don't panic. Round 4 is Panic Ocean. We've got a big old ocean liner with sunken as oil everywhere. The terrorists have got rocket launchers, so we've got to be a bit more careful now. I'm going to try and get rid of some of these turrets on the way there. All my hostages are behaving for now. Commentator's curse. And I'm going to start pumping my ladder, because if I get hit by one of these bullets, I'm going to need to do that to make sure I don't die. Ooh. Good. Okay. It's good as well because you can gain chunks of time in huge amounts in this game, so it's pretty nice for doing speedruns because you can improve pretty quickly. That was scary. 450 on the second attempt isn't so bad. So, on stage 5, this is the awkward part. We've got to go down into some caves. We're going to rescue some extremely picky hostages. It's tight, it's twisty. I'm just going to go for it because this is one of those bits where you guts to glory, you know. Here we go. Nope. Lethal corners. There's the tailspin recovery mechanic. So I'll use that to go down into the caverns, into the bowels of the level here, kill those helicopters. Tell you what, I'll grab this guy to be kind. Up he climbs. And again, once you know how the game is programmed as far as the momentum, and the way the X and Y momentum adds together, it's not that bad. It's just that it's really hard to always get the right result. You know, similar to Marble Madness, where I can get a 4 or a 9 in practice, and then I'll game over in the actual game. There's my 4. Now in this level, I'm specifically using this heavy bomb rather than change over straight away, because if you're not careful and you change on the wrong frame, you'll actually spawn a death block. Try and show you that like that. And those blocks can literally kill you just by colliding into them, because this is such a well-programmed game. I'm going to wait this out because we're not doing too well on the timing here. into a very tight cavern here. I'm going to lower myself down. Don't touch the ground. No, that's a little bit too high. You can see I'm pressing down, it just won't take. Get rid of these weapons here, because of course we can get rid of them from 5 feet in the air. 3 more hostages, almost home in time for tea. All the hostages have behaved, it's all good. Now all we've got to do is get back out safe and sound, easier than it sounds. So I'm just going to be ginger here. So when I'm firing there, it can literally push me forward even when I'm not moving forward. And it's easy to second guess yourself with this. But it's a lovely little game, it's quite charming. I think it could have been expanded, it could have had a much better concept to it, but there we go. Not a terrible time in the end. Touchdown. 7:47. That's an appropriate time enough. So if you're interested in flying games and you don't want something too onerous, this could be the speedrun for you, Air Rescue, on the Sega Master System. It's not too laggy, it's just got a little bit of weirdness to it, but it's pretty pretty. Yo, Jangle Storm, thank you for the raid, welcome in. Welcome to the Jankathon. Thank you for the GG. So we have finished 2 Master System games now. We've got some more coming up tomorrow. But once the credits on this game have rolled, I am going to show you something very, very special to me. The very first speed game I ever played, the very first video game I ever played, and a C64 game. So not something many of you will have seen. So we will be back in a couple of minutes with Flimbo's Quest.